Welcome to the Retirement Resource Show, the place to come and live a retirement that is meaningful, fulfilling, and fun. We believe this phase of your life is the best time of your life. It's up to you. And we've got the show to get you there. Here's your host, Bo Henderson.
Welcome to the Retirement Resource. I have a question. What is your plan for retirement? What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? What are your goals? All right, I'm here with Dr. Dee Wormuth with the University of Georgia Consumer Sciences, and we're having this question around retirement vision. What is it? Why is it important? And how do we create it? So Dee, welcome to the show today. I'm excited about this topic because I really think not enough people are spending time really creating this powerful vision to move toward in retirement.
Yeah, and I think it can be very powerful. So I'm very excited to be here to represent some of the work that our students have done on this topic with you.
And kind of the yin and yang of this, I'm bringing experience of hundreds, if not thousands, of face-to-face conversations with people transitioning into this retirement world or this part of life. And Dee and the students at the University of Georgia working with us on these projects are helping find, okay, what is the data that supports some of this, or maybe it refutes it, but it's kind of a nice both sides of the story. We're trying to get deeper into this question about what really makes up a successful retirement. And this retirement vision, it's one of the components of the bigger conversation around retirement clarity. And retirement clarity we're going to get to, but it's this life plan in retirement. It's a lot of it we're going to talk about today, getting into this vision. And when we have clarity around what we want that retirement to look like, then we can create this financial plan that's integrity with your plan, right? A little backwards, right? It's person first versus spreadsheet first, money first. The assets are a tool to create the life you want to live. That's what I believe. So Dee, let's get into the conversation today. What is it we mean when we say we need a vision for retirement, right?
Yeah, and the way we've been talking about that is that having that tangible mental image of your life, your whole life in retirement, not just specific activities, but what it looks like in terms of, how you're going to live, what you're going to do, how things are going to feel, how things are going to flow, who you're going to be.
Yeah, and I think that idea of getting that clear, that picture, a lot of times we just kind of roll into or slide into retirement. Okay, work's done. And as far as I've thought, I'm looking forward to not having to get up with the alarm clock and go into work today. And a lot of the conversations we've been having around some of the things that happen in retirement that you're kind of aware of, but you might not know the data that we've been trying to bring awareness to. Some tough things can happen as far as, depression, isolation, alcoholism, divorce, all those things. And one of the things that I know that can help this is if we do some of the work on the front end and get some clarity around what it is that we really want, not what somebody says or the media says or a family member thinks or a coworker or whatever thinks we're supposed to do or supposed to be, but what is it we really want to move towards this vision that, to me, it goes back to that kind of the rich life conversation. What is that vision that really gets you a little bit excited, kind of lights you up a little bit? I think if we can start finding some of those clues, we might be on the right track.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that other parts of our life, other stages of our life, it's not that big of a problem if you don't have a vision, because other people are more than happy to step in and to help you find the job or the relationship or something like that. And to, so you kind of like fall into it. But in retirement, nobody's going to help you. So if you don't have this vision for how you want to live your life in retirement, it may lead to everything that you were talking about.
And some examples, let's talk through that. When we say a vision, some people don't know where to start. I think of examples that, maybe I want to travel to Europe and spend time there and back home with the grandkids. Maybe I want to write a novel. Maybe I want to volunteer and do the things I've always wish I had time to do. Right. I think the more detailed and specific we can get in visualizing this vision, the more, and I know the data and research is there, the more vivid we can make it, the more likely it is to come to be.
Yeah. And like we've been talking about, Bo, that then, it's kind of like the three V's, right? There's the values and clarifying what matters to you in
Mhm.
retirement, what you value in that stage of your life, and then the vision, and then, like you said, the visualization and making it very tangible, very specific.
Well, as we go through, we've had this methodology that we've been talking about through this whole retirement clarity series is let's raise awareness around some topics related to a successful retirement. And then let's look at what adjustments can we make now that we have this awareness. And then we'll get to here in just a little bit, what are some specific action steps, the how to, and how do we move from just good ideas to actually integrating this information or implementing this information. So my question here, what are some of the things is the research you've been working on, some of the research that contributes to well-being or the reasons why we should consider doing some of this work, and it is work to an extent, to create this vision?
Mm-hmm. The really interesting thing was that there is not a lot of research on the role of vision in retirement. So that's an underdeveloped area, but there's plenty of research on the value of having a vision and what that means for success. And so one of the places where we went to take a look at the research is kind of in the area of life domains and well-being in your life domain. So life domains are things like relationships and finances and how you spend your productive time. It's also spiritual life and physical and mental health. And so thinking about the domains of life and how important each one is to us and kind of getting that recipe for what your life is going to be. In our working years, our work life probably took precedence over some of the other life domains. Is that how we want it to be? So I think that the life domain literature has something to inform vision around helping us be proactive in terms of setting a foundation of which of the domains of our life are going to remain in retirement, which of them are going to get greater weight in retirement, and maybe which of them are going to be diminished in retirement. And that can provide us with a very nice foundation to start to think about how do we fill each of those areas of our life with things we'd like to be doing.
No, I love that concept, right? It may be not by choice that a life domain was a larger area of our life. And now that we transition into retirement, we actually have more flexibility and control, right? So if work was 70-80% of my life during this period of time, sometimes that's hard because that's all I've known. But now I can step back and I can actually create. But I love the idea of these life domains as you were talking through it, because it's a real nice roadmap to say, okay, relationships, what would I love there in an ideal scenario, or the vision that I choose? My physical health, right? So that's literally a nice starting point. Or we could create a worksheet out of this for those of you that would like to do some of these exercises and just list life domains, and maybe prioritize somewhat, or maybe just list out what would be ideal in each of those domains. And that might even be a good starting point for this vision, because I think a lot of this, as we talk about this, is just how do I do it? How do I start? So I love this concept, and I love that idea that we can change the ratios and the domains that maybe were somewhat necessary or forced on us at prior stages in our life.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that we looked into was kind of the role of vision and brand. And so there's a lot of research around sort of like your brand image and how you project that vision into the world, and then how that influences what the brand becomes and is seen. And so, so thinking about, each of us as kind of a personal brand, and how retirement is an opportunity to rethink your personal brand. So in my working life, I was very good at X, and what I stood for in my job were these things. And so now what? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be perceived? How do you want to interact with others and show up in the world in retirement? Are there aspects of your personality even that you had to be a certain way in your working life, but now you have the opportunity to kind of rethink how you want to live and how you want to express yourself in the world?
No, and I love the language because that's a thing today, right? Much different than it was 5 years, 10 years, much less when we were growing up, of working on your personal brand, right? But as it relates to retirement, what do you want to stand for? What do you want that to be? I love that concept of, hey, do I want to be the person known for being charitable in my community? Do I want to be the person that's known for mentoring or whatever it is? Or do I want to be the person known for going in fishing and not having much to do with people, right? You can choose, but what do you want to be about? And what do you want that brand to be about? Again, just tools and conversations to start thinking about who am I going to be now that some of these things in my life are going to be behind me, right? When I leave work per se, some of the relationships there typically are going to change. What is it I want to be? And to me, D, that's the exciting part is what is it I want to be, right? If people will boldly take that by the horns and realize this is an opportunity to reinvent yourself or be this next phase of your life, it's different. So why don't you make it exactly what you want it to be?
Yeah.
So I love these tools. What is your brand? What's your personal brand? You don't necessarily think about somebody going into retirement as the person that, you hear that a lot with athletes and stuff, but I love that retirement question. I think I'm going to start doing that in the planning processes. Okay, let's talk about your personal brand. What do you think?
Yeah, and an element of that is sort of what you value. Because I think vision comes from values. And there was a man by the name of Schwartz, and he looked at values and kind of separated them into two different camps: self-enhancement values, so power, influence, wealth, those types of things, and self-transcendent values, things that were related to helping and cooperation and peace and justice and harmony. And so, thinking about where have your values been up until retirement? Do you want to continue those values, or do you want to start to cultivate other values in your life that maybe relate to your own individual well-being, but also to your community well-being?
Values, vision, it is powerful, but there is a process to this. And as we continue to flesh it out, I can just see this going through almost like a day-long workshop to where we get real clear on this. Now, did you see anything as far as maybe to the other side of what if there's a lack of vision? Does that create issues? Right?
Yeah, well, I would say that the old, I think, popular study about basketball, right, where they had three groups of people randomly assigned. One group was told to go home, don't think about basketball, don't watch basketball, don't play basketball until you come back. Another group was told to practice for so many hours every day, like actually practice. And another group was told to visualize the playing and playing basketball. So don't get an actual ball and go outside or anything like that, but just think about it. And what they found was that the people who actually practice and the people who just visualized and thought about playing, actually, when they came to the gym that day they were assigned, performed equally well. But the people who did nothing, the people who didn't visualize, didn't actually practice, those were the ones who were behind. Those were the ones who couldn't keep up on that day. And so I think that just kind of speaks to both the need to have a clear vision and to visualize things, but also the what happens if you don't. If you're not actively doing this, or you're not at least thinking about it and developing your vision, it's something where when the day comes, you're not going to be prepared.
And I've heard that study before for years, but I never thought of it till you brought it up in context of how it could apply to retirement, right? Is that there's a definite correlation. I mean, you think about, I think it's just the normal thing for say Olympic athletes, professional athletes for that matter. There's usually some kind of training, coaching around visualizing the end result, right? It's that powerful. And you bringing up that study reminds me that, if we think about it, if we spend some time on it, there's power in that. And the likelihood with the sports analogy, and it's the likelihood of you bringing it to fruition, right? And that's something we can control. Can I stack the odds in my favor to create the outcome I'm looking for? So it's fascinating when we talk about some of that more psychological work and its impact on our happiness and success.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Are you going to wake up the day after you don't have to go to work anymore and try to figure it out? Or is this something where even early on in your life, do you develop a vision of all the different phases or stages of your life, including your retirement? And then and thinking about that, I know you and I've talked about thinking about it in terms of chapters of your
Right.
life. Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, it can evolve, right? When we decide to do something, it can be an experiment that we're interested in trying out. I mean, I think a lot of times we get stuck in, what if I choose the wrong thing? Or what if I pick the wrong thing? Hey, that's great. I can't tell you how many things in my life I learned that I didn't want to do because I did it and found out, right? So I think we can approach, I think that's easier when you're young, trying out new jobs and stuff, but we can approach retirement that same way. Let's try some things on. There's not a whole lot of pressure. If you don't like it, do something different. Right? So let's get to this. So we've talked a lot about the vision, the importance, and the power of it. I think there's a lot to support that. Let's talk a little bit about the person here saying, okay, I want to stack the deck in my favor, so to speak. How do we start? Can we come up with? So I have a couple ideas, but can we come up with a couple of a process or a path to really start dialing that in? Sounds good. But help me out.
Yeah. Well, I think there are three things. I think the life domain research would suggest that thinking about what you want to have in your life. What are the roles that you want to play in retirement? Are you going to be, what kind of grandparent are you going to be if you have grandkids? What kind of neighbor or community member are you going to be? So thinking about the different life domains. Are you still going to work in retirement in some way? And what's that going to look like? So really thinking through the various life domains that you could have, and deciding what role each are going to play. And then there are a lot of different things around branding. One of them that I think is very interesting is brand archetypes. And if you search for that on the web, there are a lot of different brand archetype wheels that are out there, where you can start to say, who do I want to be in terms of a type, and what matters to me? Do I want to be the approachable everyman? Have I had experiences in my life where I can be the sage with people coming to me, or the magician? So thinking about, who you'd like to be from your personal brand. And then I also think, thinking about what it is that you value. So what are the things, and I think that kind of coincides with the life domain importance. What adjectives would I want people to use to describe me, in my life, in my retirement life? And I think that those are some ways in which you can begin to identify your values and your vision.
Yeah. So for those watching around this bigger definition of retirement success, this retirement clarity series, what Dee just described, I just decided we're going to create some worksheets. So with some visuals so that you can start thinking through some of these things. What are your values, right? What are these life domains? What's important to me there? What would that look like ideally? What is the brand image? I love these concepts because sometimes when you apply different concepts into a unique scenario, it can have a big impact because it forces us to think about things a little differently. One of the things as we start having these conversations, you start thinking about it. I think, I know we talked about the idea of just creating safe spaces for people going through similar transitions to just be really honest, and maybe start with a list of questions and just be really honest and share. Mm-hmm. Right? Talk, think. Sometimes it really is powerful to see that other people have the same concerns, goals, and dreams, and can open us up to give us permission to know that's okay. Yeah. Right? And as we continue that process and block the time to do that, one of the exercises I love to do, it's a vision values workshop I'll do with some of our clients, is literally go back to kindergarten, okay, big sheet of paper, and draw your ideal retirement. Draw your values, draw some of these things, what's important to you. And to me, what's powerful about that is you have to think about it, and then you have to kinesthetically write it down. And I think there's something about that combination that makes it real. And then the other thing is it also creates some emotion, maybe different emotions, but it also makes me laugh, because if you're like me and you draw, I was trying to illustrate travel, and my plane looked like a bird with broken wings and a crooked neck. So have some fun with it, but draw, create that vision, have fun, think about it. Don't put too many limitations or boundaries on yourself, because we can always step back. But I love the idea of having these 3 or 4 exercises. And one thing I can say with some certainty is there will be some more clarity, right? The whole point of this whole series, right? There'll be some more clarity around that vision if an hour or 2 was blocked and we walk through these action exercises. So I think that's a good action item for us, is to create this worksheet to help facilitate this conversation and get people moving down the path a little further towards a compelling vision that they're excited about in retirement.
Right, exactly. And if you are nervous about the drawing exercise that you described, just do it in pencil. That way you can already passes at it, right?
That's right, because it can always change. We can always evolve. Now, one of the things is we kind of put this in the context of this whole retirement clarity conversation. You were just bringing this up when you say you could write it in an eraser. This is a very circular model, meaning this isn't something we have to get perfect in stone up front, because again, that creates a lot of resistance. This is a model that we create a vision, we move forward. You want to work around the steps, Dee?
Sure. We're going to show that image that we had.
There it is. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And so the way we were kind of looking at this is that you probably start by setting your vision, and based on your vision, that's where you can say, okay, so given this is my vision and how I want my life to be structured, I can develop a plan for engaged living, like we talked about earlier. And then knowing that I need to move from my working years to my retirement years, I can have a transition and onboarding plan. So how do I go from what I've been in my working time to now what I'm going to be in my retirement time? And then building in this idea of reflexive monitoring, which is just a term that says I'm going to live my life, but I'm also going to pay attention to my life. Is it bringing me the joy that I anticipated? Do I love the things that I set out for myself? Or I have total control. Like, what do I want to stop doing or start doing in that life? And that's where that reflexive monitoring can take us back to that compelling vision, and rethinking, if necessary, the compelling vision, because what it is in your 60s may not be what it's in your 70s or your 80s.
Yeah, and that's this could be almost broken down into segments of retirement, right? Is we get clarity, we move forward, we step back, and we reassess, and we go. It's really a lot like retirement planning, right? We're checking in every 12 months to see what needs to be addressed and what's coming up over the next year that we need to account for. So really love the conversation. But speaking of that, that's what I would like to dig in more. Next time we do a retirement clarity show, is let's dig into more to this idea of reflexive monitoring, right? Because like you said, it's not a set it and forget it, and we want to maintain that experimental approach, that curiosity that makes retirement an exciting time for us to be navigating.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And make sure that you're doing that with all of your senses, and you're evaluating as you go whether things are working or not.
Well, here's the action item, and I'm going to challenge you with a takeaway. Take some of these ideas, the life domains, right? The brand. What's your brand in retirement? Physically drawing out your retirement, and start thinking about it. Start allowing yourself to dream, start allowing yourself to visualize, and we'll continue to put together resources to help facilitate that process. And in the meantime, we're going to continue the conversation around this idea of retirement clarity. How do I transition from what I've known for the last sometimes 20, 30, 40 years or more into this next phase of life that I believe can be the best phase, the most exciting, and where you're bringing all your experience, everything you've over the years that you've accumulated wisdom, experience, and applied it to the next phase. I think the best is yet to come, but I also believe it takes a little work and it takes retirement clarity. So here with Dr. D. Warmath, I'm Bo Henderson. This show is for you. Let us know what it is you're looking for to help you successfully navigate retirement, and we'll see you next time right here on the Retirement Resource.